What is going on, YouTube? I'm back with another video, and this time I'm doing my Super Bowl predictions regarding the big game tomorrow, obviously between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Let's get right into it. First off, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of bragging first. So this is a video that I uploaded about a month ago, just before the playoffs started, and I just basically did a little tier list of who I think will be in the Super Bowl and who I think is going to win at the beginning of the playoffs. And as you can see, I got pretty much three of the four Super Bowl contenders correct. The only team that I messed up was the Bills, and that's only because the Bengals. I kind of disrespected the Bengals a little bit, but I mean, again, I put them as a deep run team. I expected them to go far, and I'm pretty sure I said something about the Bengals not being able to beat both the Bills and the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl, and sure enough, it happened. So if you want to see any more of these predictions or anything, please leave me some feedback, subscribe, like anything would help me keep going and make me want to continue to make videos. So now we're gonna go into how the teams stack up against each other, and so as you can see, both of them have identical records, first in their conferences. Um, Very close in the points for category, where the Chiefs are number one in the league, with no surprise considering that Patrick Mahomes is the MVP this year. And then the Eagles were actually third. A little surprising considering that there's a couple games that they're missing Jalen Hurts throughout the season, but they kept up pretty much at the top. But then where the defense is, the Chiefs are perfectly mid, only allowing 21 points per game, which I mean, that's not bad. I mean, 21 points isn't crazy, but as you can see with the Eagles, they gave up over a whole point less, and they actually cut the rankings in half and made it to the top 10. Now with the advanced statistics, this is where things get interesting because the strength of schedule is SOS, and the higher the negative, the easier the schedule is. So they determined that the Eagles had an easier schedule this year than the Chiefs did overall. But then the SRS is where it really comes in, where basically it's a scoring that they give to each team, and essentially the higher the scoring they have, is the better they performed against the teams of their strength of schedule. And the Eagles and Chiefs are back to back. Like, you can't be any more neck to neck. Um, while just by looking at these stats alone, it's very obvious that the Eagles have a slight defensive advantage, while the Chiefs have a slight offensive advantage. But can't get any more neck to neck than this. So now I'm gonna break down the team stats between the two teams and basically see what pops out to me essentially. So now we look at the Chiefs first, and just looking at total stats, the offense is just outgating the defense, not by a lot, surprisingly, when it came to yards and yards per, well, yeah, just yards in general. Actually, I mean, again, when you have Patrick Mahomes as your starting quarterback, you're bound to get a lot of yards. Turnovers, surprisingly, the Chiefs have turned the ball over more than they have turned other teams over, which is a little concerning, but at this point, anything can happen with the Super Bowl. So any given day, we move on to the offense, like the passing specifically. Obviously, Mahomes had an MVP season, so his stats are ridiculous compared to what the defense has given up all season long. But even though the yards aren't particularly like close, I mean, granted, again, Mahomes MVP, but touchdowns interceptions is a little concerning. It's like a 3-to-1 ratio where they're just not turning the ball over as much as they should be. The rushing stats, um, actually, I'm assuming because the Chiefs were ahead most of the time, they had more rushing yards and more touchdowns. The rushing attempts has been dead equal, surprisingly, considering the Chiefs have won almost every single game they played. Um, so then we go to penalties, and now other teams are getting more penalized. However, when the Chiefs get penalized, they are giving up more yards. It's likely because like pass interference and other like deep ball like spot fouls that accrue a lot more yards. Maybe even some face masks or even roughing the passers where they're 15-yard penalties that could also cause two. I We'll go on to the average drive, and I think the one thing that really stands out here is the average drive points, where almost every single drive that the Chiefs go, they are getting almost 3 points every time. It is almost impossible to keep the Chiefs within field goal distance. And this will be a big test for that Chiefs offense, where I feel like now when we look at the Eagles, we see a whole different story. Um, you know, yards, the defense is giving up way less yards, while the offense themselves aren't getting as many yards. The plays, playing doing 50 more plays here compared to only a one play difference here is going to be a big difference if the Eagles can, you know, keep their offense on the field. Uh, Turnovers, the defense being way better opportunists, and they're turning over the ball less than what the Chiefs are doing all season. Um, so, like you could just see also just with passing yards significantly lower, like defensive wise, they're turning over more interceptions, significantly less touchdowns, and also on less attempts too. Which, I mean, again, like if you're turning over the ball as many times to back to the offense, teams aren't going to want to pass on you as much compared to a Chiefs team where if you have a 3-to-1 touchdowns to interception ratio, you are just airing the ball out way more. Now we look at the rushing, and while the rushing defense for the Eagles is worse than the rushing defense for the Chiefs, you know, we look at the rushing yards for the team themselves, and it's significantly higher with way more touchdowns. And I feel like this is a great indicator of how the season went for the Eagles. They have a very balanced attack. Um, yes, while Jalen Hurts played monster, had a really good year, you know, could have been MVP if he stayed healthy throughout the entire season. It really comes to show that when they needed the rushing to hit, 32 touchdowns compared to 18, it really could play a big difference here. Um, Also, here's another big thing: you got the Eagles giving up um, less penalties and less yards than the Chiefs, as well as um, not only are teams getting penalized slightly less, or the other teams getting penalized slightly less, but they're getting more yards too, which again, when you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith as your wide receiver, it's a lot more pass interferences. Um, Now we go over here, while the points kind of stagnate here, where it's like the Chiefs like tend to score more on the average drive, and they have more yards per drive than the Eagles. You look at this defense, not even 2 points. You can't like a lot of drives have been stalling for other teams when they go up against this stingy Eagles defense. So now I'm gonna break down my three reasons why the Chiefs will win, and the three reasons why they will lose, and then I'll do the same for the Eagles as well. So my first reason why the Chiefs will win is if they keep their defense off the field. Essentially, what I'm saying is that if the Chiefs keep the majority of possession of the game, like even like a 60-40 split, I feel like would be great. The Chiefs will dominate. Simple as that. And when you keep the ball in Mahomes' hands more often, only good things really seem to happen. If Patrick Mahomes does not turn over the ball more than once, I mean, as I mentioned in the previous slide, how their rushing isn't that great. Um, they will have to rely on Mahomes a lot to throw the ball, even when they are ahead, because I feel like their offensive line's is not that good, even with their additions they've made, and obviously their running game hasn't produced as well. So if Mahomes is just consistently turning over the ball, it's going to be really bad news for the Chiefs. And if they are within two scores at halftime. So there was the stat before the Patriots beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl where if a team was leading by more than 10 points in the Super Bowl, they were the basically guaranteed winners of that game. So while obviously the Patriots came back from 25 points in the 28-3 embarrassment that was that Super Bowl, um, I feel like if the Eagles are 17, 21 points ahead by halftime, there's very little chance the Chiefs are going to come back. because then there's going to become two-dimensional in their offense. And again, Mahomes, he seems to be healthy, but as he's on the injury report, but even he can't make miracles. You even saw it with the Buccaneers Chiefs Super Bowl where once the Buccaneers got ahead, the Chiefs couldn't do anything. Sure, Mahomes had the pretty little throw while he was horizontal, and he did as much as he could. It's very hard to come back from big deficits in the Super Bowl. So now the Chiefs will lose if their run game is not existent. I mentioned this before, but you know, the Chiefs need to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage and at least get 2 to 3 yards per game on the run. If they can get at least 3 yards a game on the run, they will be in a great position to not only eat the clock but make at least their offense unpredictable. And if they can really mess around with the Eagles' defense, then they'll be in the clear. Uh, they will also lose if Travis Kelce's the only person getting open. You know, I have no worries about Travis Kelce. He will do everything in his power to have like 10 catches, 150 yards, and even a touchdown or two. You can almost lock that. I think Travis Kelce is going to be the main guy like out there, even if he does get double covered, because he'll just be doing those over the middle routes. Maybe he'll do a little split, like a little vertical, in a soft zone. But if he's the only person getting open, and Valdez-Scantling, Juju, Sky Moore, if all of them are just non-existent and they're just easily getting locked up, it's going to be a long day for Patrick Mahomes. He's just going to be running around. He's going to be, just pointing all over the field, just trying to get someone open. It's going to be tough. And then lastly, if they cannot put consistent pressure on Jalen Hurts, um, you know, while this is kind of like a no duh, um, Jalen Hurts, he is a very mobile quarterback. However, he is one of the youngest quarterbacks to ever be in the Super Bowl too, and where Mahomes not only I think has the talent edge on Jalen Hurts, honestly, but he also has a Super Bowl experience as well. He knows how to win. He knows what it's like to lose in the Super Bowl. And since this is Jalen Hurts' first time here, um, if he gets consistent pressure, there's going to be a lot of stress going on Jalen Hurts, and he's going to likely turn over the ball a couple times if under a lot of duress. So now for the Eagles, they'll win if more than Miles Sanders is successful in the running game. Uh, you know, I feel like they have a three-headed monster over there at Philly, where not only can Miles Sanders produce, but they also have Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. Where if another one of those running backs could get a couple first downs and really just confuse the Chiefs defense, then it's going to be really tough for the Chiefs to see when it's going to be a pass, when it's going to be a run or a play action. And this plays into my second one, where if the RPO game is working early, I have a strong feeling that Nick Sirianni is going to play a lot of RPO at first to try to frazzle the defense, especially if it works and Jalen Hurts managed to get a first down or two here and there, especially at the beginning. They could always just use that for the rest of the game. And if the RPO doesn't work, then they're probably just going to abandon it. So if the RPO game is working early, I really do think the Eagles will have a great chance at winning. And then lastly, the offensive line can keep Jalen Hurts from getting hit. This is a little redundant, but again, uh, Jalen Hurts is the most valuable player, uh, not only to the Eagles but in the league in general. If you look at Pro Football Reference, he's actually tied for the highest valued player out of all players in the league. I believe with Josh Allen. Um, so even if Jalen Hurts even gets hurt, I would not trust the backup to come in and win the game for them. This is not Nick Foles 2.0. They need Jalen Hurts to win, to be on the field at all times. Um, the Eagles will lose if their secondary cannot cover the deep ball. So this goes back to my Chiefs point where if Scantling, Sky Moore, and Juju can get open, especially deep, where I feel like that's where Mahomes, especially since he has that arm. If Scantling is catching 40-yard bombs and then Juju Smith-Schuster is running his intermediate routes, and even Sky Moore even burns for a touchdown possibly, like the Eagles will be really in a tough spot, and then it just kind of just feeds back into just how will they be able to recover. And I don't think the Eagles defense will. Um, their receiving core is not getting open. Similar to the Chiefs. I mean, actually, no. I mean, it's not really similar to the Chiefs because the Eagles have the more talented wide receiving core. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown are two of some of the most talented wide receivers in the entire league, especially a top duo. They're definitely a top duo without a doubt. Um, if they're getting open all the time, which I think they will, considering the Chiefs like secondary is kind of food. Um, it's going to be a long day for that Chiefs defense, and the Eagles could easily just blow them out. But if the receiving core isn't getting open, then Eagles will definitely lose. And lastly, if they rely on late game heroics from Jalen Hurts, goes back to my inexperience point. I do believe that this game will be close. And if the Eagles are relying on a 2-minute drill from Jalen Hurts, I don't think he's going to be able to pull it out. Because like usually that's when the lights shine the brightest. The pressure's on, and like if you pull through, you're going to be a legend. And I think that's going to hurt Jalen Hurts now. Down the line, do I think Jalen Hurts will be able to learn from his mistakes? Absolutely, but I don't think like if they have to rely on Jalen Hurts, the Eagles are going to be screwed. So now here's my X factors. Um, for the Chiefs, I have Isaiah Pacheco because, like I mentioned before, Chiefs really need a good running offense to be able to do anything. Um, Starting with Isaiah Pacheco because if he can't run the ball, you're not going to expect any of the other running backs for the Chiefs to be able to take Isaiah Pacheco's place. For the offense, for the Eagles, I have Dallas Goedert. I do believe that if he gets open frequently, especially over the middle, that's only going to open their passing offense so much more for AJ Brown and Devontae Smith to run wild. Um, I do feel like the Chiefs are going to have to rely heavily on double teams depending on the formation and what they expect to see coming. So if Dallas Goedert can get open frequently, which I think he can, um, he'll be a massive part in the Eagles' offense. And then I have L'Jarius Sneed as the defensive X factor for the Chiefs. Um, Being the cornerback one for the Chiefs, going up against AJ Brown on a play-on-play basis will make or break the Chiefs. Honestly, um, there's so many other factors that could go into this, but again, if L'Jarius Sneed is getting blown by AJ Brown over and over and over and over again, Eagles are winning this game. And then for the pass rush, actually the defensive X factor for the Eagles, I have Hassan Reddick. And essentially, I said because of the pass rush, obviously you want to make Mahomes uncomfortable, and Hassan Reddick has been the biggest impact on that pass rush for the Eagles. And if he gets a couple sacks or even just some pressures or hits on Mahomes and kind of gets in his head, that speeds up the game for Mahomes and makes him want to scramble around more, and maybe he'll throw more turnovers. And then lastly, here's my prediction. I have the Chiefs being the Eagles in a close game. It's going to be a high scoring game. Um, I do think it will come down to a 2-minute drill by Jalen Hurts, or whether he turns the ball over or he comes up short on 4th and long. Um, I do think the Chiefs will get this. And so, yeah, that's my predictions for the Super Bowl. Like, comment, subscribe. Anything would be greatly appreciated. And thanks for watching.